Excuse me.
All right, so welcome to Night Hacking at the Øredev conference. My name's Stephen Chin. I work for the Oracle Technology Network, doing live interviews here all week at Øredev, and I'm joined by Niall. How are you doing, Niall?
Great. It's just finished a talk here, so.
Yeah. So speaking of your talk, so I heard there's an interesting story about how you
Yeah.
became an Øredev speaker.
Funny you should ask. Back in Dev Day down in Poland, I was demonstrating a couple of the different Wi-Fi attacks that you can do, and Emily, who is one of the major organizers here with Øredev, happened to log into the Øredev corporate database using my Wi-Fi, which meant I got a copy of her username and password.
Oh.
So post my talk, I wander up to this very nice French lady and I hand over a little post-it, and she opens it and she goes, with a very French, I won't say ooh la la, but she went, and it was a copy of her username and password, and she goes, well, how did you do that? And I said, it's in a talk I've done, I would love to show you at Øredev. And she goes, okay. So please don't try and hack Øredev if you want to try and get here, it's not recommended. But it was made for a very interesting introduction to the conference for them.
Yeah, no, that's a great story to start your talk as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, I did it. When I was doing the security day yesterday, I said that was how I led off and let people know that this is that simple and this is what you can do with it.
So I think one of the interesting things we were chatting about, I think one of the interesting things for especially software developer types to understand is just how vulnerable they are to security attacks in their home, in their workplace.
Yeah, it's like we've seen lately, there's the huge amount of breaches that have been going back and forth. Like the most kind of high profile in the latest in kind of latest memory would be the Ashley Madison case, where a lot of very personal data was leaked out to the web, causing a lot of personal pain.
Yeah.
Even though the developers had done some work with the decrypting of passwords and done that bit right, the problem was the other confidential information was leaked. And this, we forget sometimes as developers how much information we control. And it may not be just our software that's at risk, it could be our infrastructure, it could be some small little door that's open, and then all of a sudden people are let in. It takes very little to elevate you from having very little access to God in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, and we mostly hear about the cases where people realize that there was a security breach which took place, but lots of different security attacks don't even make it easy to find out that you've been breached.
Well, yeah, everyone's been there and saying, if I find a SQL injection attack, which is still the #1 type of attack on the web right now, that they say, well, we're going to drop the tables. That makes no sense to an attacker. Because the reason is, your data costs money, and it can be made money. So once I have this information, I can sell it. So why would you bother deleting this stuff unless you're just doing it so that no one else will have it? But most people try and maintain access, because then they can leverage the company, use it for blackmail, or sell your data to other people with more nefarious attitudes towards life.
Cool. So you have some devices here as well,
I have toys. I have got lots of toys.
Which you wanted to show off. And
yeah, this is the one, the little here. This is a Wi-Fi pineapple. This is a $100 rogue access point, and this is what we caught Emily with.
Nice.
So what this does is you can plug it in. It's got a little Ethernet port here, power and USB. And these two antennas, what they do is they broadcast they accept all SSID requests. Traditionally, how your home router works is you will send out a request for your home router's name. And it will say, I'm that router, you can connect to me, your devices will do the handshake. But when you have open networks, there's no handshake to happen. Now, what this device does is your device will say, okay, is airport network here? And it will say, yes. And then your device will connect because it's looking for Wi-Fi.
Yep, and it can't tell the difference between this and your home network.
Or the airport network, because they're both open. Because the way Wi-Fi works is you can have multiple network points all broadcasting the same SSID, and then your device will connect to them because it thinks it's a larger network. On the other side, we've got a thing what it called dogma. The newer devices don't broadcast what they're looking for. They wait for you to broadcast to them. So what we do is we harvest all the SSIDs that we know and start broadcasting them back out in hoping to attract you to come in.
Yeah.
Now, there are different ways of getting all this information. You can go to wiggle.net, download a list of the top 1,000 SSIDs, or as I demonstrate to in a lot of my talks is, when I first landed in an airport, I open up my phone, I check what the airport Wi-Fi is. It is the most common Wi-Fi point in the general area because people will be going in and out, and those who are landing from foreign places will generally want to pick up their email or anything like that first.
And then once they have that open airport network hooked in, then they'll find this.
Yeah,
and then connect to you.
And once I have you, I'm your man in the middle here. So I can sniff your data, I can change it in flight, or I can just block you or not, just annoy you. Now, so as a demo today, we turned this on just when I was down here, and like as we were passing by, you'd get 20 people, 30 people, devices just quickly hopping on, and even though the broadband is, the Wi-Fi code is pasted all over the walls, people's devices were still connecting to this.
Nice.
It's for $100, it's lethal. And if you look at the size of it, it's about the size of 2 packs of cigarettes. You can leave this under a desk.
And so you also have a battery for this as well.
Yeah, I have a battery pack. So they're like, if you look at them side by side, you leave this stuck under. You can put it in a backpack, leave it right down beside your desk or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, most people wouldn't even identify what that was because it's a black,
it's a black box. Yeah, it's just a black box. It is very easy to do it. And like when I show this off, and just people get so kind of terrified as to what we can actually do with it. And I'm using the small little aerials.
Yeah.
I've got boosters for this, and I've got like larger aerials for more range. So you don't know where you're being caught from. So if you want to take any away from this, don't have your devices automatically connect to open networks. On the iPhone, I think it's to automatically turn off or ask me before connecting to a network. So that's the kind of one thing I tell people not to do, or to do.
Make sure that your device always requests before you connect to a network.
It's kind of like the old public safety announcement. Do you know where your children are? It's 9 p.m. Does you know what your phone is connecting to? So that's how it goes. So we have a couple of other things. So while we're on the networks thing, I'll show you this one. And this is the LAN Tap, or what's known as a Throwing Star LAN Tap Pro.
Yeah, so why is it called a throwing star?
Because the original edition of this came on a throwing star that shaped circuit board, and you had to solder it yourself together. But this is the Pro edition, meaning it's nicely put in a box. And what this does is you put your Ethernet in here, your other Ethernet in here, and that passes through, and then we can read data out, and it doesn't inject frames into the network stream, which means you can't be detected. So where you put this is behind printers, because you'll be able to pull corporate documents off it, because as they're being sent to the printer, you pull it out. Nice. Yeah, and it's the only way to find these things is they downgrade the network to 100 megs from 1 gigabit. But if you're, it's not obvious.
That's pretty difficult, and I bet you could design a gigabit version of this as well.
Yes, of course, and that's the thing. And this is like $10.
Yeah.
And if it's so subtle. You put it because it's on this end, it's completely black. You put it behind a.
Just tape it up and then pop it in with a little bit
and leave a sticker required by IT department. And I'm serious, people will ignore it. And this is, and I want to kind of emphasize, it is actually that simple. But
so what would you hook up to this to automatically pull documents off? Like
you could do that. You could plug them together and it transmit out.
So or you could actually connect to this remotely.
Yes.
To then pull things off of that from the printer. Yeah.
Or use a Raspberry Pi.
Okay.
Arduino, anything you want.
Small ARM processors
Yes,
work.
and just use it as reverse shell, or you can use some of like Pony Express or other. You can use, believe it or not, there are phones that are hooked up and can use it for this. So you can imagine finding a phone attached to this, and then all of it. At that stage, you start seeing the Mission Impossible logo, and you go, right, backing out, don't want to do it. So it's a very, these are two kind of simple Wi-Fi devices that you can use. So
yeah, but I mean, especially in a conference setting, the Wi-Fi one would be very easy to pick up lots of different signals and in the middle.
We demoed this at a client, and what we did was we didn't tell them what was going to happen. We just said we're going to demo some Wi-Fi attacks too. We're going to demo some other things. And so what we did was we walked in, we put this on the table in front of them, said nothing, and everyone and just connected to the laptop. Nothing more. Everyone ignored it, thought it was just a little router. And then we asked them to open up their phones and iPads, and we had everyone in the room. We had everyone in the room. All their internet access was coming through us.
Nice.
And what we did was every time they tried to get to a page, if we had to change the DNS, they would say, this is not the page you're looking for. You know, are you sure this is where you're supposed to go? And people just click yes, and off they go.
Yes. Okay.
We are conditioned.
Started typing in their passwords into random web pages.
Yeah. Well, I make a joke. You know, the easiest way to get someone's password is ask for them, or offer them the internet when they really want it and say, can you put in your Facebook password here? And they'll do it. You know, it's really trivial.
Well, I think a lot of people are conditioned to bypass those dialogues because when you connect to like hotel networks or what they'll do is they'll inject their own pages for authentication, which then throws in a series of misconfigurations on all your web pages and other things where it'll ask you, are you sure you want to connect?
It's the terminology is known as a captive portal, and it's used by, like you say, hotels, coffee shops, and we most find it when all of a sudden this dialogue pops up saying your security's out of date or something, and then you load an insecure page to put in a password.
In general, folks are conditioned just to click through it now, rather than actually paying attention to the security warning.
You would be so surprised like as you say, people are conditioned because they will donate their password. If you ask them to put in what looks like a relatively nice-looking page, people will put in their username and password, and you copy it and off you go. Because that's why I'm very worried when they ask me to like our page to get access to the internet. I'm sorry, but if you are worried about that type of attack, enable two-factor authentication on all your devices, because if all these accounts, if anyone tries to log in using this, using your account details, you'll be given a SMS, and you'll know you'll potentially be breached. Yeah. So, also don't use the same password for multiple services. Use
some sort of password manager where you can
KeyPass, 1Password, LastPass, whatever suits your actual needs, but don't use the same because cross-pollination is a very large vector.
So once they get one of your passwords, they're going to try it in your bank account, they're going to try it in your corporate network, and if you use it in multiple places, then even if what they breached was maybe like a relatively
Bob's Flower Shop, they get your Gmail apart. They get your Gmail or Facebook account,
and then once you get access to Gmail, probably you can mine for other passwords and other confidential stuff.
Well, that's a really good point, because the Matt Honan hack, which is a hack that was a social engineering hack done backwards, what they did was they got the @Matt account on Twitter, and they hacked his account by first hacking Amazon. So what they did is they rang Amazon, said we want to put a new card on. They put the new card on. Next day they said we forgot our Amazon password. Okay? And they said, oh, okay, well, can you give me the last 4 digits of a credit card on your account, which they had just added. So they got that. They log in. They see the last 4 digits of the first credit card, which iTunes require to allow you to log in. So they logged into his iTunes account then, which was a secondary account for his Gmail account. So they reset his Gmail password, and then they reset his Twitter password because they had access to Gmail. That's how they got in. They did 4 steps.
Wow.
One single mistake, because as Matt put it, the 4 digits that protect my iTunes account were the 4 digits that Amazon allowed to show in plain text. And that is where multiple security failures and they knock on, and it's considered one of the kind of most cross-pollination or examples of a hack done.
Yeah, but it's fairly clever to figure out how different services require different security or expose different bits of personal information, and you can piece them together in a little, like a little Rube Goldberg machine to get your.
That's a really good way of showing it. But what I think what the major factor here was that they had a single problem to solve.
Yeah.
They had to try and get the @Matt account. So what they did is they went, well, I want to reset the password. Where's that? I look, and it goes to Gmail. So then I'll say, okay, if I try and reset your Gmail account, it goes to me.com. So I now need to break into iTunes. And if I want to break into iTunes, what information do I need? I need this Amazon, or I need these 4 digits.
4 digits of
and
your
then
credit card, and where can I find that?
And that was how they did it.
Yeah.
So that was this is the other problem the developers face, which is the biggest security issue they face. They define a security perimeter around. The attacker only has to defeat that. So if you're trying to define, and you're trying to go, oh, well, what happens if this? What happens if this? The hacker's only just going, well, I've only got to beat this single piece and I'm in. And then if I get to another problem, I have another problem to fix, and I have a different tool for that. So that is the absolute why it is so difficult to write secure software or security perimeters around your software, because you've got to think in so many different ways to do about it, and that's why you should be using the offensive tools that hackers use against your systems to
then test your
yours.
own systems. You need like almost white hat hackers to do some software testing on your own
And if your audience is not familiar with the term white hat, black hat, and gray hat, white hat they hack for good, black hat maliciously, and gray hat choose on the day. So it is I've been suggesting, one of my talks here at Øredev was how to use offensive tools in a defensive manner. And if you can add this into your build steps, it's a really good way to even just give evidence that there is a problem.
Yeah. So so now I can go to my employer and say I have a business justification.
Well, there is a good use for those as well. They're a fantastic portable access point when you're at a hotel.
See?
Yeah.
There you go.
You know, if you need it, they're good. You know.
Cool. And I think you had one last. A couple other devices
I have two other ones.
Yeah.
One is the USB keylogger. It's very small, as you can see. It's about the length of my pinky. This is very dangerous. You plug this in the back. It records all your keystrokes. I did this to one of my colleagues. And I showed him how to do it, because what we did was we installed a second mouse behind his keyboard.
Yeah.
You know, the typical April Fool's Day, and we just a wireless mouse, and we jiggled his mouse, and he got really upset and was trying to figure out what was going on. I said, "It's okay, I got this." And I went behind his keyboard, did a quick switch, plugged this in, walked away, and I showed him the little receiver. He was like, "That's good." Came back after lunch. He logged in, did things. When he went to the bathroom, I quickly unplugged everything, put it back in, and then I handed him another post-it note with his password, and his face went, "How did you do that?"
But that's clever. You actually got it in and out undetected.
Yes, but it's a pure social engineering.
Yeah.
You look like you're supposed to be there. You're doing someone a favor the first time around. You've pulled a joke. That's all they're expecting to see, and you just did the quick flick.
And you were using this with a wireless keyboard, so you plug the wireless dongle?
Yeah, wireless dongle will plug in, and then because this acts as a pass-through, there's a special key combination when you press it, will then show it up as a disk drive. And then when you have that in, then you can copy
all the passwords off of it.
And it shows all the spelling mistakes he made, etc. So it was a good joke. He appreciated it and saw it nice. And then finally, I've got what are two standard issue USB keys, or to most people they
look pretty plain vanilla, but I assume you don't have you have two of them for a reason.
I have two of them reason because they both look the same. This one is a USB device, standard 4 gig USB 2.
Yeah.
Okay. You get this at a lot of conferences. You get this off little people. This one is a keyboard. Yep. It is what is known as a rubber ducky, because if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck, but in this case, it ain't. What's inside here is a small microprocessor with 128 megs of flash memory, and it identifies itself to Windows or any device as a keyboard, and then starts typing.
Oh.
So you write Ducky script, which is just a very quick scripting language to allow you to type 7,000 keystrokes a minute, and you can, for example, get it to download something off the web, run things, and it'll, for example, open up Windows Notepad, bring it down to the screen, start typing some PowerShell, execute that in PowerShell, and then do stuff, and then disappear. And you do this in less than a couple of seconds.
Wow.
And what happens is you put this on leave this in a car park as a red team tactic, and people will plug it in. It'll do something. They'll go, I don't know what happens. It'll install an FTP service, install SSH, or it'll try and download some.
So it's like a portable virus gateway.
It's a portable kind of very fast typer, but it's like it's $20.
Yeah.
For this. It's exceptionally, as you can, if you hold both of these, the only difference is actually the weight. You'll feel that's a little bit lighter.
Well, that's an easy problem to solve too.
Yeah, that's it. But that's all it is, and they're another tactic to get in, and they are all hacking the human.
So in that case, probably the common scenario would be to get somebody to put it into their computer.
No.
Or would it be more common to try to?
Normally, what we do, we suggest is disable USB on USB drives on all workstations if you don't need them. SneakerNet is not a good way of doing things, but if you have to have a kind of sanitation machine, either a machine that's off network, does something, you plug it in, and something breaks, it doesn't matter. You can torch It's OPSEC, but the thing is, people are curious. They want to return devices to people, etc.
Yeah.
That's what happens. I try not to sound like we should all be very paranoid. We should be nice and trusting. But there are things, if it looks a bit odd, if it looks too good to be true, we had that old adage on the internet, if it sounds too good to be true, it's probably not true. And if it's definitely on the internet,
Yep. And these are all good examples of things which are too good to be true.
And all
Open
of this,
networks.
Yeah.
USB drives.
And their final is this. There's another last one which I haven't got with me. It's known as an evil USB. When you plug it in, it sends a voltage down your card and nukes the board.
Wow.
It loads from the USB. It loads from USB 2, takes all the voltage in.
So it uses the voltage from your computer, builds up in a capacitor, and then
boom,
wipes.
Yeah, it's a destructive
Nice.
tool. Now that is we're very much into James Bond 007 level now at this stage for that.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So I really appreciate the short interview, Niles.
Thank you very much.
This was very enlightening, and because you showed up on our live stream and you deserve this more than anyone else, since this is the Night Hacker program.
Awesome.
So you get one of the exclusive laptop stickers.
Oh, that's awesome. I actually would. This will be the first Java sticker on a very Microsoft-y guy. Hi. Please don't fire me. Thanks, guys.
All right, cool. Thanks a lot, and I hope you have a safe flight back.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.